Hi, welcome to the shop. I've got a new package in the mail. I've been dealing with ROCKLER for many years, doing furniture repairs and things. There are parts that you can get, replacement parts, hinges, things like that. But I never really thought of much of them as a company to buy tools from. As a matter of fact, in the catalog they sent me here, the planes that are mentioned in the workshop series, you have to go online for. They're not in this catalog. But it's a good company, and they warrant all their stuff. Good to have their catalog around the house, too, when you need it. But anyway, I got this package, and inside was a plane that I decided to buy, actually on someone else's assurance that they liked the plane. And it's a plane by Benchdog, Benchdog Tools, and it's their version of the STANLEY one. So I just it's in very nice shape. The outer boxing is very fancy, cloth covered cardboard with a nice logo, Benchdog Tools. And it's a Benchdog #1 smoothing plane, and it's interesting. There's a warning label on it, so we better read that at first, just to make sure we're not doing anything bad. It says, "Warning: drilling, sawing, sanding, or machining wood products can expose you to wood dust, a substance known to the state of California to cause cancer. Avoid inhaling wood dust or use a dust mask, blah, 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 for more information." It's a nice warning. I think everybody should probably be aware that inhaling things that aren't natural to you are probably a bad thing. But the box is a beautiful thing, Benchdog Tools, little bulldog logo. We open it up, and we have inside, I'll put this up here so you can see it, a hand plane manual. Isn't that, let's see, that should be interesting. Effective February 2023. That seems rather strange to me that they're telling me how it's effective, or do not use this product until you have read and are confident you understand product specific warnings, blah, 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 blah. Danger warning, caution notice. All of this first few pages is them avoiding lawsuits. Here you go. Components of a typical bench plane. I'll show a close-up of it, but this is interesting. That's good. Then flattening the sole, honing the blade. The idea that they're telling me I need to flatten the sole to begin with, that worries me. Adjusting the blade, periodic maintenance, troubleshooting, and then some more information here. Anyway, interesting. And then in here are their other planes that they make. So that is nice. That's good for them as far as a sailing thing. Now, distributed by ROCKLER Companies. They are in Minnesota. I'm looking for where this is made. I suspect it would be China, but I'll have to look closer and fill you in on that later. There's a piece of paper. The inspection report. That's nice. Checked by this person, this date, and specific observation is 0.0016. Now that's for the sole flatness, and then blade hardness is the 60 HRC, and it apparently was tested as well to match. So that's an interesting piece. And so inside here is the plane. Nice little foam all around to protect it. Very, very nice packaging. Cannot complain about the packaging, and that's a box that I would like to save. Medina, Minnesota. Distributed by. Still looking for that made in mark, but let's see. So here's the package. It's poly-packed with some oil on the surface, and oh, there you go. Made in India on the piece right there. #1 on the side. And bulldog emblem here. We'll have to clean off this oil to see what it looks like. The wood almost looks like it might be teak. Hard to say. So this poly bag is not sealed. It's just wrapped. But there you go. It looks like teak wood, which would kind of make sense from India. But let's clean off some of this oil, and we'll take a look at it. Glad you're here. So I brought out my original Stanley #1 plane and my WOODRIVER copy of the #1 plane, and just to see a comparison with this new one that I've got by Benchdog. And there are distinctive differences, and I'll examine some of them closer. The first thing is that this one, the Benchdog, has more weight. It has an etch on the side here with their logo. Nothing in here refers to the one, but here on the side is another one, another etch of the one, and here made in India on the side. The handle is teak, and it's got a little knot in it. First time I've ever seen a handle on any plane ever go out with a knot in it. The knurling here is a little coarser than the other ones, certainly more than the Stanley #1, which has a very small, fine adjustment knob. And the thickness of the cheeks on this is much heavier than the WOODRIVER and the Stanley #1. This is also, this new Benchdog is just approximately, I would say, 1/16 wider, almost to an eighth, but 1/16 wider than the original one you see here. And the length of it is almost exact, but you can see there is more thickness to this cheek and certainly more weight in this one here. So let's do a little comparison of these three. This is the Stanley #1. This is a WOODRIVER. And this is the Benchdog tool, #1. You can see the thickness of the cheek is much thinner on the Stanley than on the WOODRIVER, but even thicker on the Benchdog. You can also see that there is a slight difference, definitely a difference in the woods, believing this rosewood, this paddock, and this most likely teak, but the shape is different at the bottom. And I might get used to that, but I'm not there yet. The other thing is that there's a big weight difference. The Stanley here, Stanley #1, the original, that weighs 14 ounces, nearing 1 pound. The WOODRIVER is 1 pound 2 ounces, and the Benchdog is 1.4 ounces. And you don't really think about that being that much, that 2 ounces, but the substantial weight difference when you pick this up, you really, really feel it. So let's do another little comparison here. The Stanley #1, it actually has stamped on the iron the Stanley logo here. Rosewood, small advancement knob, very much flush here with this screw. The WOODRIVER, this knob, which does have knurling, but it's fairly fine, but it's grabbable. Nothing on the iron. Down here, the WR for WOODRIVER, and this screw is not flush at the top. Also, this screw is brass, which I think would be better served if it were steel. And all of this is matching iron here, steel here. You see there's no difference there, except that when you look at the very end of it here, it's very pointy. On the #1, it's very much rounded around. I hope you can see that. a little different. And the new one, the Benchdog, it has a brass piece up here, lever. It's very much like the WOODRIVER as far as the pointiness here. The iron has nothing etched into it. Again, brass here, not flush with the screw here. And the knurling is very, very, how would I put it? Not coarse, but very exaggerated. More so than you need to. And there is quite a bit of slop in here. You see how many turns I have to take to make this touch the lever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see how the WOODRIVER is on that. It is right 1, 2, 1, 2. The STANLEY, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's quite a bit of slop in here. There's a big gap between those ears and that groove. So this is interesting. I just put this on the stone for a little bit of flattening the back, and you can see that that outer perimeter flattened, but this middle part is a hollow. The minor secondary bevel that I put on here, I don't know if I can focus it for you to see it, is just that little fine edge. There's no reason to take off any more than that, and that gives you a nice sharp edge. But that's a little worrisome. Interesting. This is where I'll stop because there's no need to flatten that back any more than this right now for these sort of test run. As long as I have that straight edge all the way across flat, I'll use this now. Then we'll see how we go from there. But let's see how she cuts. So this is the STANLEY #1. Fits nicely in your hand, nice small. Kind of glides and feels very lightweight now compared to these others. So this is the WOODRIVER. A little bit heavier of a bite. And here is the Benchdog after we put the secondary bevel on the iron. Line things up a little bit. And I'll tell you what, for this purpose, it's working very well. On the larger piece here, I think it's doing a good job too. Right here, this is really sharp, this edge, and it kind of digs in on your pinky, so I'm gonna have to kill those two corners. I think they could have done that, but that's a pretty nice shaving. Pretty nice. So I'm just checking the cheeks to the sole squareness, and one side is square to the sole, the other side is not. It's not off terribly, and it wouldn't affect the use of this plane for a smoothing plane, but it would affect it if you were trying to use it as a shooting board, you know, for model making. But that's not really what this plane is all about at all. So here's my feelings about it. I think that it's a good plane for the price. The WOODRIVER is about $60, $65 more than this one. And of course the Stanley #1 is, I don't know, $1,000 to $1,200 more because it's so collectible. So this is a good plane for its size. Barring the few things that I don't like about it, is that there's a knot in this handle, and the shape of the front knob I'm not thrilled about, and this I would expect to be flush, and I would prefer this if it was steel. This is all minutia and not really important. What is important is that this is very sharp edges on everything, and they all need to be cleaned up and softened before you use this plane. Also, the iron is not ready to be used. It needs a secondary bevel and it needs honing. All these things are not very difficult to do. A little sandpaper very carefully could take these little edges off and then re-oil it so it doesn't rust. I wouldn't resurface the cheeks because you would lose the etchings in it. The Made in India, and the Benchdog. That being said, for the price, it's a great little plane. It'll serve its purpose, which is to be a small smoothing plane, which is different than a block plane. A block plane, the angle of the iron is lower, and it's more for end grain. This is really for surface work, and it'll suffice well. It's got a good weight. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to do the little improvements that I talked about. And I don't really have anything terrible to say about it. It's a good solid plane. So I hope you've enjoyed the little critique or the little review, and I'm glad to have you in the shop, and I'm glad to see you again. And until I see you again, everybody, take care of yourselves and be kind. Take care. Bye. Not a bad shaving.